Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about The House of the Devil. And this movie came out in 2009 and is directed by Ty West, who I haven't really seen anything beforehand that I really liked. I thought X and Pearl were fine. Maxine, I didn't really care for. And it was just the X trilogy that I've seen before. But I heard that this one was supposed to be good, and I watched it, and it was good. Not great, but good. And what this movie is basically going for is trying to be like an homage to 80s horror movies. And I was at times kind of thinking about John Carpenter films. And I was like, oh, this is actually surprising me with how decent this is. And it's building up tension very well. And the whole movie is just basically built up and not much happens. And it's mostly just the main girl walking around to this house. And this movie had like a $900,000 budget. And what they managed to do with that money, pretty good, I would say. I think it's a really great, small, low budget film, and it's quite effective for what it is. And I think everything up until the last 10 minutes is really solid, really enjoyable. And I liked the music choices. I thought that they fit the tone pretty well, and it made you feel like, oh, this is the 80s. And from the sets and the costume designs and the dialect to some extent made it feel like an 80s horror movie. I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. I'm enjoying this. And even the shots remind me of 80s horror movies at times. And it was a nice looking movie for a decent amount of it. And the movie is pretty slow, but I wasn't really bored, surprisingly, despite not much happening. And it was kind of fun to see Greta Gerwig in the movie. She was one of my favorite parts of the movie, and she added a lot. I found her character to be quite entertaining. This movie had parts that genuinely surprised me, and I was like, oh, I can't believe this movie is able to do that. And there's some creepy imagery in this film as well that I also appreciate. And there's not a whole lot of dialogue in this movie either. It's just mostly nothing happening, like I've said earlier. The whole movie is basically just a huge build up to the third act. I'm sure you've seen these types of movies before. And it's a slow burn, and it's not filled with subplots or anything like that. And it's all just like slowly building and building and building until it eventually releases in the third act. The acting was also pretty good, especially given the budget and the resources and the amount of screen time that these actors have, like all these side characters in the movie. They don't have a whole lot of screen time, but I didn't feel as though they were dragging the movie down at any particular moment. But I did have some issues. There was some choppy editing in this movie that I didn't care for, and there was a couple of jump scares in the movie that I didn't care for either. And there were parts of this movie where it did lack subtlety, unfortunately, where we just got some flashbacks for absolutely no reason. I was like, not much has happened, and I'm pretty sure the audience wouldn't be confused as to what we're supposed to be thinking of. And if you didn't throw in those flashbacks, I do feel as though the movie would be slightly better. It would help to rewatch it and be like, oh, there's something building here. That's cool. There's some nice setups and subtle clues going on. Now to get into the worst part of the movie, that being the last 10 minutes, it pretty much just completely betrayed the tone of what was being set up for me personally, and also just the shots. It was just way too close and shaky to the point where I was like, okay, I no longer feel like this is an 80s horror movie, and pretty much all the action in this movie is bad, and that's when the movie is at its worst. And this movie is not necessarily breaking traditional narrative structures, and you can pretty much guess what I mean by that when I say this movie has a traditional narrative structure to a certain degree, with I guess some changes, but still, you can only imagine what the last 10 minutes is going to be like from what I've described already. And it was definitely at its worst because of the action that was in the movie. Because it was just like poorly filmed, and with it being towards the end, that's also something that really hurts it as well. Luckily, it's not in the movie too much, but it's still there. And I also kind of knew that the last 10 minutes were kind of weak. So I wasn't exactly caught off guard by that, but it's still disappointing to see. But, anyways, that's about all I have to say about The House of the Devil. I don't think there's too much to say about it without getting into spoilers at this point. And even if I were to spoil the movie, it would only be for like a minute or two. But I'm not even going to bother with this one because it's just, what do I want to do? Just make like a 2 minute long section where I spoil the movie, or just make a entire separate video that's 2 minutes long where I talk about the spoilery things that I wasn't able to talk about here. Like, I don't really feel as though it's necessary to do that. Most of the movie is good. It was thoroughly enjoyable. I didn't feel as though my 90 minutes were wasted entirely, and it was a good movie that's not sure if I'll watch it again, but it's definitely Ty West's best movie for sure. And I would recommend it. It's currently free to watch on Amazon Prime, so there's a way to do so. And with all that being said, I'm going to give The House of the Devil a 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below what you thought of The House of the Devil, and my social media links. They will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for The Wicker Man from 1973. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.